Shen Rashi, new Parsha, new week. Parsha's Toldos.
Generations.
Yep. Generations, offspring. We are in the book of Genesis, Bereshis, chapter 25, verse 19. Eila Toldos Yitzchak. These are the offspring, the descendants of Yitzchak. Yitzchak ben Avram, Yitzchak, who's the son of Avram. Avram Hoylidis Yitzchak. Avram gave birth to Yitzchak. Anybody have a problem with this verse that Rashi should address?
Why wouldn't it say the mother?
Okay. That's interesting. Didn't think of that question. But the obvious question, if the Yitzchak is the son of Abraham, obviously Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak.
Oh yeah, it's like it's repetitive.
Right. And actually, don't we know this already? To say that it's the offspring, So it says Rashi, Eila told us Yitzchak. These are the descendants of Yitzchak.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Huh? Why doesn't it make sense?
Oh, it's just saying like by this.
Because he doesn't have the descendants yet. He doesn't have children.
Okay.
So even this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So Rashi says, Yaakov Esav Amorim Baparsha. It's making a reference to Yaakov and Esav that are mentioned later in the Torah portion, right?
So somehow this repetition is indicating there's going to be like a.
No, 1 second. Repetition, we didn't get to it yet. The very words, these are the descendants, right?
Oh,
and he doesn't even have children yet.
Yeah.
They're not even born yet.
Yeah.
So that itself is a question. So Rashi is saying that it's like, it's like the heading of something that's going to come later.
Yeah.
Right? Avram gave birth to Yitzchak, so that is a repetition, right?
Yeah.
So Rashi says, Avram Yitzchak. After Hashem called the name of Avram, he added the hey to his name, and it wasn't Avram, but Avraham. Afterwards, then he gave birth to Yitzchak. That's one explanation. In other words, Avram didn't give birth to Yitzchak. Avraham. That's one explanation. Alternative explanation. Yitzchak ben Avram. Since the verse says that Yitzchak is the son of Avram, who's Kakloimar, had to say Avram Yitzchak, Avram begot Yitzchak. Why? Because all the scoffers of the generation were saying, Sarah became pregnant from Avimelech. Remember, Avimelech took her into to become his own wife, right?
Yeah,
right? No, there's not in Egypt. There was in Egypt, Pharaoh in Egypt, and then afterwards was Avimelech, a different story.
Oh,
okay. Because she was many years with Avram as a wife, and she did not become pregnant from him. So as the scoffers were saying, she's not your kid.
Yeah.
Whose kid is it? It's Sarah's kid. Well, she was pregnant, that we saw, but she became pregnant from Avimelech. Right, so what did Hashem Nemasa, Kodesh Baruch, what did God do? Tzar klaster pon of Shel Yitzchak, he fashioned the form of Yitzchak's face, Demel Avraham, that resembled Avraham. Ve'idu akol, so everyone attested, Avram Yitzchak, that Avram begat Yitzchak. As he looked like him.
Yeah.
He looked like him. Oh, I guess he must be the father. That's what's written. No, over here, Yitzchak ben Avram. The Yitzchak is the son of Avram. Meaning Shaharei Edus Yesh. In other words, there's evidence there Yitzchak that Avram gave birth to Yitzchak, and that's why it's repeated in order to bring out that notion that he looked like him, that all the scoffers would not be able to make their statement.
I didn't understand the first one. Like it was saying that previously it said Avram instead of Abraham had fathered Yitzhak, or
As the verse is coming to specifically say that Avram was not capable of giving birth to Yitzhak, only when God changed his name and made him
okay.
complete,
Yeah,
Avraham. So Avram was able to give birth
Okay.
to. Right. That's
it's
what it means.
emphasizing that.
Yeah. Okay. There's other things on the side over there if you want. Okay. Okay. You're very welcome. Chaf 20. He Yitzchak, and Yitzchak was Arbaim Shana, 40 years. Bekafta is Rivka when he took Rivka, Bas Besuel, the daughter of Besuel Harami, the Armenian, Padan Aram from Padan Aram, Achais Lavan, the sister of Lavan Harami, the Aramean, Loi for him, Leisha for a wife. Right? Now he was 40 years old when he married her, right? 20 in Rashi. Ben Arboim Shana, 40 years old, Charei Kisheba Avram Mehara Maria, when Avram came from Mount Moriah, meaning after the binding of Yitzchak, his master should know that Rivka was informed he was informed that Rivka was born. And Yitzchak was 37 years old at the time. Charei Ben Leperek Meisa Sarah, for at that time, that's when Sarah died. From the time that Yitzchak was born, Ad HaAkeda, until the Akeda, Shemesa Sarah, Shishloishim V'Sheva Shonim Hayu. He was 37 years old. How so? How do you know that he was 37? By the binding of Yitzchak. Ki Basti Shim Hoisa, because she was 90 years old, because she knew that Yitzchak, when Yitzchak was born. Or Bas Meya V'Esrim Shana V'Sheva. V'Esrim V'Sheva. And she was 127 years old, because she made when she died. As the verse said last week, right? So Yitzchak was 37 years old when Sarah died, right? Are you clear? Follow?
Yeah.
90 years old when she gave birth to him, 127 when she passed away. That means he was 37 years old.
And she passed away after
when she passed away, when he was also by the binding of Yitzchak, right? And Rivka, and in that same time period, Rivka was born. So he waited for her until she was fit. The Shalosh Shanim, 3 years old, and also then he married her. Now, what does he mean? He married her. He was 30. What does it mean? It means that there was a binding of, from 3 years old, you can marry off your daughter.
Oh,
from 3 years old. Right.
3 years old.
Or 3 years old.
He was 3 years old.
Yes, according to as Rashi explains. Yes.
Some countries want to go back to that now.
Huh? Yeah. So
in Afghanistan, they passed a law.
Yeah. So daughter, so she was the daughter of Bisuel from Padan Aram, the sister of Lavan. Has it not been already written? We already know she's the daughter of Bisuel. And Achais Lavan, and the sister of Lavan. We know that from last week's parsha. Padan Aram, and then she's from Padan Aram. All those things, we know. Why is the verse repeating it? Ella, why is it repeated? Lagi Shivcha, to tell her praise. Shaiza Bas Rasha, that she was a daughter of a wicked person. Rasha, and she was a sister of a wicked person. And her place was wicked people in Padan Aram. But yet she did not learn from their deeds. In other words, she was not wicked like them. Padan Aram, next Rashi from a Padan Aram, Al Shem Shishnei Aram Hayu. Because of the two Arams, Aram Naharaim, there's not Aram Naharaim, Aram Tzeva and Aram Tzeva. Kedra, it's a Padan. This one is called Padan Temid Bakar. This is related to Temid Bakar, Tirgam Padan Tairim. In the Targum, it says a pair of oxen. Yesh Paisim Padan Aram. Aram, like the field of Aram, Kishalosh and Ishmael, the language of the Arabs, They call a field a padan. So the field of Aram. Okay. V'yata Yitzchak. 21. And he pleaded, Yitzchak, La Hashem, to God, L'necha Chishtei, opposite his wife, Ki Akarahi, because she was fertile, barren, rather. V'yetar Loi Hashem, and Hashem responded to him, V'tahar, and she conceived Rivka Ishta, his wife. Rashi, Yetar, Hirba V'hivtze B'tfila, he prayed much and repeatedly. Yes, Loi, and God responded to him. Nispazer, he prevailed, V'nispata Loi, and persuaded by him. V'emeran, and I say, V'loshen Asar, that the form of the root Asar, Loshen Hivtze V'ribuihu, is an expression of beseechment in a very increased way. Similarly, we find the cloud of increase means Marbis Aliyas Ha'ashan, the fusion of the rising of smoke. Multiplied your words upon me. It's just bringing a similar idea that it means beseeching in an increased manner. And in Old French, engrazir, something like that. What does it mean? The opposite to his wife. Yitzchak stood in one corner, and he prayed. And Rivka, she stood in another corner, and she prayed. And he was entreated, right? So Rashi's coming back to this now. But not her. In other words, God answered his prayers, but not her prayers. Because the prayer of the righteous, who is the son of a righteous, is not comparable to someone who is a child of the wicked. The tefillah sadik ben sadik, prayer of the righteous, who is the son of a righteous, the fikach loy, to him he was answered, but she was not answered. Right? In other words, they were both praying, but only he got answered, Yitzchak, in his prayers, because he's a tzaddik, the son of a tzaddik, and she is righteous, but only herself and not, right? So she's not answered.
Praying for the same thing.
Yeah.
So how do we know that he got answered? And what difference does it make whether he got answered or she got answered?
Because the verse says it. Hey, Shimalei, we're learning here Chumash according to the way Rashi understands. We're not learning what makes sense to us, right? It's not about me and what makes sense to me in my brain. It's about the Torah is teaching us a lesson. It's saying something here. The verse says very clearly, he got answered. So Rashi's explaining why him? Why is he got answered, right? The verse says it. There's no argument. There's no argument in what it says, right? The question is, why? Why didn't she get answered if she was praying too? So Rashi addresses that because she was righteous and he was righteous. But that you can't compare someone who comes from righteousness compared to someone who didn't come from that, even though you might make the argument on the contrary, right? I would make the argument on the contrary. She is a Balas Shuva, and Balas Shuva is greater than a tzaddik. But that's not what it says. That's what Rashi is saying, right? So I have a question still on it, like, how do we understand that? But I guess it means the person, I have an answer for it. The person themselves in their achievement is greater, but this merit isn't greater because you have merit of your forefathers. That's a different thing. When you're praying, we say, Elokeinu, Elokei Aviseinu, Elokei Avram, Elokei, because we have the merit. Why are we mentioning it? Speak only Elokeinu, my God. Wow, look at that. I think that's the answer, right? Because when we are praying, you're praying not just yourself, it's in the merit of those that came before you. Well, Yitzchak has Avram and Sarah. She has only unholy people. that came before. So even though Abal Teshuva in their own stead, they are greater, but when it comes to prayer to beseech of God, you're not just beseeching on your own merit. You're beseeching on those that came before you. Well, he's got a lot more merit. Therefore, he was answered and not her. Wow. Thank you for that, Shimele, because without you saying that, I wouldn't have come like it really like it fits now. It makes sense. And it fits in how we pray, right? How come we're not praying Elokeinu only, my God? Right? Why we mention Elokei Avosenu, Elokei Avram, the God of Avram and I? Why? Because in our prayers we want to the prayers to be fulfilled. Well, they're going to be fulfilled if I have the merit of other great people that came before me. Wow.
Well, we all have the merit of Abraham.
Yeah, but she didn't have that.
No, I
Rivka
understand
didn't have that. All right, we all say that. Now, I know, but I'm coming to explain now here what the answer over here is. Now that makes sense. Wow. Okay. And they struggled, the children, plural, right? Bikirba, inside of her, the timer, and she said, Im Kain, if so, Lama ze anechi. Why is it? Lama ze, why is this anechi? That I, pray for it. And she went Lidreshes Hashem to inquire of God. Right? So Rashi will explain. Yeah, we're following now? Yeah, we're good? No, you're not. You're great. All right. It's right to two. And the children were struggling. You must say, this verse is saying, expound me. What is it? Like, wow, kind of term is that? Shisasam, because it remains very vague what that means. My here it's what is this struggle, this crushing that's going on? Because of yet it writes, if so, why is it that I am? So rabbis, they expounded, it's a language of running. It's right to comes from the word rats, to run. What does that mean? Rashi explains. The sages explain it. Rashi brings it down. When she would pass the entrance of a place of Torah study, like the Academy Shel Shem Ve'ever of Shem Ve'ever, Yaakov would run and toss about. Let's say it's because he wanted to get out of his mother's womb. But when she passed the entrance of idolatry, Esav would, like toss about to wanting to get out. That's one explanation. Alternative explanation. Misraim they were struggling one with the other, and fighting. The inheritance of two worlds, this world and the world to come. In other words, their battle already began in utero. Got it? Yeah?
Yeah.
Second explanation.
I just wonder how Rashi would come to that conclusion.
Because it kind of makes sense.
Not the conclusion that they were fighting among themselves in utero, but which one was actually fighting for when she passed one place versus another place. How does he know that one place is Esau and the other place is when he passes Shem and Eber, it's
very good question. How do you know that now?
does he know that?
How do you know that now? You know that later because they did fight later, right?
Yes, we know that.
Right. So, no, it's a good question on how does why is Rashi, who's coming to explain the simple meaning of the text, saying that here, when right here, how do we know? So the answer is because she went to ask in the academy, what's going on over here? So they explained to her, right, as they understood what's going on from heaven, I guess, right? And therefore they must have explained that to her, I think. Well,
Maybe-
let's see. Let's
maybe
continue
he's
with
drawing
Rashi.
on
Let's finish the Rashi. Let's finish the Rashi here, and maybe we'll get clarity.
Maybe he's drawing on his later knowledge.
Yeah, but that's a problem. That's a problem to say that,
Why?
because that's not. Then later you could
Not-
extrapolate from.
not-
I understand, but that's a problem to say that. That's not so simple. You can't say that. You're right, because Rashi's coming to explain what this verse in the context here is, and not based on knowledge later. But it's a let's finish off Rashi. Maybe we'll get some idea. V'temeim Cain, and she said, if so, Gadol Tzar Ha'iber, the pain of the pregnancy is so great. Lamazeh Nechi. Mis'avel misvala leiroyin, desiring and praying for the pregnancy. Like, why did I pray for this? This is too much, right? This is too much. V'teilech lidrash, and she went to inquire. Lebeis midrash shel Shem ve'ever. She went to the study house of Shem ve'ever, right? Because they were still around. Right, she went to inquire. How'd she inquire of God? Because she went to the study hall. Lidrash is Hashem, to inquire of God. She yugad law that God would tell her what the end would be of her pregnancy. So okay, so here we have the answer in the verse itself. Okay, Shemelei, since she went to the study hall, right, and they were the ones who told her this is what's going on inside of you. So then from there she understood. Because already I know that I went to a study hall and I had this push in me, right? And then I went to a place of Avodah Zorah I passed by, I had a push in me. So then she understood what that meant. It meant...
One was pushing to get out.
And the other one was also pushing to get out at another time. Yeah. And she knew she had twins, because the verse says that the children, not the child, were struggling within her. So
You didn't know which one.
well, she knew one was, she knew one. In the end, it's Yaakov is the one for the house of study. You know, I doubt they said Yaakov, but they said, you know, why Rashi says Yaakov, not, you know, one was like this, because, okay, because, you know, that ties in with the very first verse, right? The very first verse, what did it say? Ela Toldos Yitzchak. These are the descendants of Yitzchak, and he didn't even have children yet. And what does Rashi say? Ha'amurim beparsha. Yaakov and Esav amurim beparsha. So in other words, it's already part of the context of everything here. Wow. Clear?
Yes.
Yeah? Tzachi, we're good? All right. Pav Gimel, 23. This is amazing. This is quite amazing. V'yomer Hashem. And Hashem's, oh, by the way, here we go. You wanted to know? So the next verse is telling it to us. V'yomer Hashem, and Hashem said, who did he say it to? To Shem, to tell her. Lo, Shnei Goyim, there are two nations, Bebitnech, that is in your womb. Ushnei Le'umim, and two powers, Mimeach, from your womb, Yiparedu will emerge, will come out. Uleum milum, milum, and there will be a power struggle. One will have power over the other. Ye'emat will power over. Verav Yavoid Sawyer, and the Rav, the greater one, meaning the elder, Yavoid Sawyer, will serve the younger and his descendants. Okay, let's see Rashi. V'yomer Hashem lo, and Hashem said to her, Rashi says, Al Yedei Shliach, through a messenger, L'shem Nemar, it was told to Shem, Baruch HaKodesh and the Holy Spirit, divine inspiration. V'hoi merlon, he told her. Right? How do we know that? Because she went because she went to find out from God, right? In the Beis HaMidrash, as we learned before. So it was there that Shane got the divine inspiration, and he told her. What did he tell her? Shnei goyim bibitnech. There are two nations in your room. Geim ksiv. It's written geim, not goyim. Goyim means nations. Geim means proud ones. Ela Antoninos, that refers to Antoninos, and Rabbi, who's Yehuda Nasi, who is the author of the Mishnah. Because radish or lettuce did not cease from their table, they were so wealthy. Not in the sunny or the winter rainy season. Wow. Like that's, I don't know what Rashi, like, how do you learn that from Pshuto Mikra? I don't get it. Shnei Le'umim, two nations. Ein Le'um Ela Malchus. Le'um means a kingdom. From your insides, meaning your room, but shall be separated. They are still in your womb. They are distinct. This one to wickedness, and this one is complete whole. In other words, they're already separate inside of you. Very interesting. What does it mean that someone's wicked in utero? What does it mean?
There's a little note here.
What? Yeah. Go ahead.
Poor Arya says that there's a question, like, doesn't the Yetzer Hara only come after birth?
Yeah. No.
So how come he already
is evil,
right? So it says that even inside the womb, the child is inclined to his natural character and instinct. And Yaakov's natural tendency was for holy pursuits, while Esau's natural tendency was for sensual pursuits. So even though we didn't already have the Yetzer Hara, he was already inclined to his natural, to the way he is naturally.
Right.
That's what Gur Ari says.
Okay. Well, why isn't it everyone in utero is that way? Are we inclined to our nefesh bahamis? I mean, nefesh elokis, the godly soul only comes in afterwards. Anyway, okay. No.
Because doesn't the child already know all the Torah and know everything until he comes out, and then the malach comes and puts the finger on his lips and.
Yeah. I'm not certain it's a godly soul that's learning that then, because the godly soul enters then. I don't know. Yeah, Tzarachian. Milum Yemat, and she becomes stronger from the other regime. They're not equal in greatness. Come when this one rises and the other one falls. Likewise, it says, that I will fill myself with the ruin, which implies that the tire of the city of descendants of Esav was not filled. But from the ruin of Jerusalem.
That's all then.
Yeah, I'm not clear on that. Okay. But Yimlu Yameha, and her days became full, Laledis, to give birth. Behine, and behold, Saimim, Bebitna, behold, she has twins in her womb. Wow, what does that mean? No, Vihine, Hine is like as if like she didn't know. Behold is like behold, like
more like an indeed. What is it?
Not usually the word hine is not in that, right? It's usually like
it's a dahat, right?
Yeah. Let's see if Rashi picks up on that. Okay. Following. V'yamalo yameha. And what does it mean that her days were full? Right? So Rashi says, Abba the Tamar Ksiv. There's a sikh on this, by the way. We're going to learn this. Tamar, it's written by he be'ezli dita, and it came to pass when she gave birth, shaloi mali yameha, because her term was not full, because she gave birth to twins after 7 months. Right. So by here it says when she gave birth, not that her days were full, because she gave birth right at 7 months. And here it was full. You have a question on Rashi over here? Why is Rashi bringing this up over here? If you have the question, if you have the question, it should be only later when you learn in 3 parshas from now, in Parshat Vayeshev, about Tamar giving birth. Then you have the question that there's a discrepancy. You don't have a discrepancy here. Discrepancy is only after the second time you see.
Giving a contrast, giving a.
No, but the question doesn't come now.
What is Veinu Yameh?
Huh?
That's the question. The question is Veinu Yameh. What does it mean that she came to a full term? So
But Ben Chamesh Mikra doesn't have a problem with that.
Huh?
But it's not in contrast to.
Give an example of.
No, but that's not the way of Rashi. So we have a question over here. In other words, it's not on the words themselves that they need understanding. Yimalo, I mean, her days became full to give birth. Okay, what's the problem with that? Later on, you see a different terminology. So then you have the question. So I have this question on this.
Yeah, it did 7 months. But is that Rashi?
Yeah, 7 months is another case. He's just.
No, yeah. And behold, twins. Chaser. The spelling is lacking. Tamar taimim, and by Tamar it's spelled with an aleph. Mole full spelling, right? By Tamar it's full spelling. Here it's not. The fee, why? She's named tzaddikim because she had twins and both were righteous. Aval Khan, but here echad tzaddik, but here only one was righteous, echad rasha, and one was wicked. Again, same question. The sikha that we're going to learn later. Okay, 25. The Harishain, and the first one came out, Admoini, came out reddish, or Kule Kaderis, like an Aderis, like a woolen cloak, meaning very hairy, like a woolen cloak. Sayer of hair, because Esav, and they called his name Esav, right? Rashi. Admaini read Simon, who this was a sign, Shu Shefir Damim, that he's a spiller of blood. Whoa. Beware redheads. Not a joke, by the way. There's something to that. There's something.
Torah.
Huh?
It's in the Torah.
Yeah, something to that. Baal Shem Tov was a redhead. And in other words, meaning there was an inclination to very, like
Fair skin.
no, redhead, not fair skin.
Redheads have very fair skin.
I know, but that's not the point.
And blood very often comes to the surface of your skin. And that's why red-headed people have very
More-blooded,
sometimes
hot-blooded,
thin skin
and hot-blooded, and therefore they have more of an atiyah to that. And this is exactly what he's saying over
Be
here.
careful taking the sun.
Yeah, Kulei Kader Seir, that he was like a hairy mantle, like a piece of clothing. Mole Seir, full of hair. Like a woolen cloak. A Mole Seir that's full of hair. And in Old French, Rochedi. Okay, Esav, they called his name Esav. I'll call Karu like Cain. Everyone called him so. What the fee? Because because it was fully made and complete. With respect to his hair, as if he was many years old. Esav means from the word asa, made, like he was fully made. He was fully baked. Some kids come out, they're not fully baked. And years later, it's not fully baked yet.
Still not.
I don't know, I vaguely recall, is there a medrash that he was born with full teeth also?
I don't know. I
But I
didn't.
might be wrong. So.
I never heard that.
Say that.
Never heard
That
that.
medrash, I don't know.
Anyway, but let's do Chumash and Rashi because we're gonna get off over here. Okay, and afterwards, Yotza Achiv came out his brother, and his hand was holding his heel, the heel of Esav, right? Of Esav, Yaakov, and they called his name Yaakov. Why they call him Yaakov? Because the word Akav is in there, right? Heel.
Says here God named him Yaakov.
Huh?
Says here God named him.
Yeah, that well, you're right. You have to be careful when you're reading the translation because
Yeah.
I'm trying to help that you can learn the words.
Yeah.
Rashi is going to explain that,
Okay.
right? But in the translation, it doesn't say that,
Okay.
right? It doesn't say. It says he called,
Okay.
right? The question is, of course, is it us? Who's the he?
Yeah.
Right? Who's on first? What's on second? And he's on third. Right? So Yitzchak and Yitzchak ben Shishim Shana, he was 60 years old, but let it say some when he gave birth to them. So Rivka, how old was Rivka? She was 23. Right? Rashi in 26 and his brother then emerged. Midrash Agada. I heard an Agadic Midrash Hadersha that interprets it Lefi Pshuta according to the simple meaning. B'din haya oiches boy, that Yaakov was grasping Esav's heel by right, la'akvai, to prevent him from emerging from the womb first. Yaakov neitzer. Yaakov was first formed, mitipa rishona, from the first drop. The Esav minashniya, and Esav from the second drop. Say v'lamad, go and learn. Can demonstrate this for yourself. Peres, and when you take a tube, shepia ktsara, that the opening is narrow, and you put two stones into the tube, one after the other, the one that goes in first, will come out last. The one that goes out last, will come out first. It turns out that Esav was formed only afterwards. Yotzarishan, he emerged first. Yaakov and Yaakov was formed first. Yotzachron, he emerged second afterwards. Yaakov and Yaakov is coming to prevent him from leaving the womb ahead of him. That he should be the first in actual giving birth. As he was the first, Yaakov, in being formed. Yiftar es Rachma, and he would issue first from the from Rivka's womb. He would take the first right born, the birthright of the firstborn by right. So, like, he's holding on to him that this really belongs to me. Now, this is.
So Esav's the real theft, the real thief of the firstborn.
In a sense, yeah. So interesting, this whole Esav and the heel of Esav, Simon. This is a sign that this one will not have a chance to end his rule until the other one rises and takes it from him. It's going to be a battle that will ensue between them. By the way, it's happening right now. You know who Esav is? Who's Esav?
Oh.
Huh?
The Western world.
The Western world. And Yaakov is Jewish people. What's happening right now? We're fighting the entire Western world. Right? There's no one really supportive in the Western world at all. Right? Truly supportive of Israel. Right? We're not fighting merely Ishmael now. We're fighting Esav. This is what you're saying right here. Not just fighting Ishmael. We're not just fighting Ishmael.
Esau was became Rome.
That's what we just said.
No, but
That's
we're
what we
not
just
fighting,
said.
We're not fighting.
Rome is Western civilization. Rome is the progenitor of Western civilization. That's what we're talking
Sounds
about.
like we're fighting Ishmael.
We're fighting also Esav.
I guess we're fighting on many fronts.
We're fighting, right? What do they say? 6 fronts for fighting. What's the 6th front? The media. What's media? Western civilization. That's where we're right. That's what we're fighting.
Not the Asians really, but
Huh?
not like the Japanese or anything.
Right. Exactly. Okay, but yeah. V'yikra Shmo Yaakov, and they called his name Yaakov. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hashem Amar Atem Frisem Becharchem Shem. You have given a name to your firstborn. Afani Ekra Livni B'cheri Shem. I too will give a name to my firstborn. Hadahi Diksiv, and that's what is meant when it's written V'yikra Shmo Yaakov, when he called his name Yaakov, right? Meaning, listen. When it came to Esav, who called him Esav? It says Vayikru, plural. They called him. And what does Rashi say? Everybody called him that. Why? Because he was complete.
Yeah.
Right, he was like as if he was an older kid already, or or whatever, like a 8-month-old baby, or even more than that, right? So everybody called him that, right? Now it says v'yikra, he. So all of a sudden it's just one. First of all, parents don't call; it's only he. So Rashi is taking from here in the context, and everybody else called Esav what Esav is. And he is not the real firstborn. He's not the real first one that's made, right? I'm going to call this one Yaakov. So that's one explanation. Alternative explanation. Yaakov. His father called him Yaakov. Al Shem Achizazalke, because he was grasping his heel. My question is why that's not the first answer. Why is it the other way around that God called? How do you get that in the context over here that that's the first explanation?
I think it makes more sense according to what you said. Vayikru and Vayikra.
Yeah, okay, so they did, but the father witnessed, it still sounds a stretch, no?
First one is source, the other one is just wrapping.
Hmm?
The first one is also source. In Tanchuma, whereas
Yeah, but it has to fit in the simple context. It's not just about getting a source for it. Okay, sorry, need to look into that. Ben Shishim Shana, 60 years old. Eser Shanim Shenosav, 10 years from when he married her. Ad. When she turned 13 years old, that's when she's fit to become pregnant. Right? So Rashi's explaining, why do we need to know his age here? Coming to tell us that, right, she's fit to become pregnant. In other words, married means he was that she was right, but they didn't have relations.
Yeah.
Until she was fit that she could actually become pregnant.
Yes.
Right? Then Eser Shanim, then 10 years, Safa Vihimtin Law. He hoped and waited for her to conceive. Kamish Asa Aviv, like his father had done. Nisara. Because she didn't become pregnant during those 10 years from 13 to 23. Yada Shi Yakara, he knew that she was barren. That's why he prayed for her. So why, if he's learning from his father, remember what happened?
Sarah
was where did we get the 10 years? I don't remember now.
10 years from when I believe she was 90 when
She was 90 when she gave birth, and he was 100.
Yeah, no, but 10 years between Ishmael and Yitzchak.
No, 13. There's 13 years.
13 was at the Mishte once he was already by Gamal. No? Am I wrong?
Maybe. Okay, so it was 10 years. No, but he was 86. He was 86 when he had Ishmael.
He was 86.
Yeah. And it was 100, yeah, the 13th year or so, yeah, something, whatever. Okay, I don't know.
We have 10 years somewhere there.
Yeah, okay. In any case, so what's happening over here? So the question is then, what did Avram do because she was barren? What she was 10 years, Rashi says it.
10 years from when they went to Canaan, I think. And then
But she was barren for 10 years. And that's why she gave Hagar to Avram, the maidservant, in order that way at least there'll be a child in the family, right? Right. So now the question is, why didn't Yitzchak do that? Right? He prayed. Why didn't he just take a maidservant? So Rashi addresses that now. And a maidservant he didn't want to marry to have children from Maria, because he became consecrated to Maria to be an offering to God. So therefore he had to be a pure offering, and he could only have a child not from a maidservant, but only from his wife. Got it? Yeah, I would love to continue. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's long. Sorry, I can't continue because we got to do Tanya now. Oh, so geschmack. Okay, we'll see you shortly by Tanya.